Here on 4 months of Oscar, the winner of the poll you all want to see, winner of the Oscar for Best Actor of the year of 1977, The Goodbye Girl, released by MGM but yet distributed by Warner Brothers, which is very odd actually, since Warner Brothers agreed to split the costs on this. A working title script entitled Bogart Slept Here wasn't good enough for you, Warner Brothers? Anyway, with the combining genius of stars Richard Dreyfuss, Marsha Mason, director Herbert Ross, and famed Tony Award-winning playwright Neil Simon, we have, in my opinion, one of the greatest romantic comedies ever made. If you don't know the beautiful story, okay, let's move right along here. Marsha Mason, Neil Simon's wife at the time, plays Paula McFadden, an ex-dancer/performer who lives around 77th West Street, between Columbus and Amsterdam Avenue, which is on the way to Upper Manhattan, just in case y'all didn't know, with her 10-year-old daughter, Lucy, played amazingly by newcomer Quinn Cummings. As they're preparing to move out to LA with Tony DeForest, a married, close to being divorced actor Paula is involved with, she finds the letter from Tony saying he ditched them for a Bernardo Bertolucci picture. I mean, the guy works his ass off. Ass, I've heard that word before. Not only that, he sublets their apartment, and they're forced to move out. What a shitheel. God, Lucy's got a mouth on her. It's perfect. But she refuses, and Paula is hit with more opposition when Elliot Garfield Dreyfuss, a Chicago actor who comes into town to do an off-Broadway production of Richard III, comes in to take over the sublet. The whole battle sequence of him even coming in is just genius, with Elliot going back and forth to the flooded booth on Amsterdam Avenue to call Paula and get to the bottom of whatever fishiness is going on in there. The repartee is just classic Simon, and you talk about one of those cases where you cast it perfectly. It's so wild to think Robert De Niro was going to play Elliot originally, but apparently was fired, and they brought in Richard last minute. Despite their hilarious bickering, do me the courtesy of hearing me out, please. You're not the only one who could screen rape, you know? They agreed to share the apartment, but obviously it's Elliot that's paying the rent, who has a job, and thus he make it the rules. Obviously, since Paula was dumped horribly by another actor, in pops another one to be an inconvenience for her. She obviously hates Elliot's guts, but perhaps his obnoxious charm will win her and Lucy over and change both of their trajectories. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get a little personal on this one. As said before, it is one of the greatest romantic comedies ever made, period. But this film actually means a whole lot to me. Richard Dreyfuss's Oscar-winning performance, honestly, is one of the greatest performances ever given to film, in my book, for it re-inspired a 16-year-old me to actually study and pursue acting head-on. I remember the very first time I ever caught this film, when I was 16, doing my homework, putting on TCM like I always do, and up pops The Goodbye Girl. Halfway into it, pops up on the scene where Elliot is on the stoop, moping and complaining about how he's directed to play Richard, with his director played by the great Paul Benedict. You feel foolish, Elliot? I feel like an asshole. I passed foolish on Tuesday. And because they were talking about theater, about acting, and the dialogue is so snappy, I felt utterly captivated that I stopped doing my homework and just kept watching. It moves on to Elliot and Paula shopping together, stopping at the wine shop for some Chianti, which was $1.80. Holy shiza! Inflation for today's dollars, that's actually $10, which for Chianti is not bad. But Paula gets robbed, Elliot goes after the robbers, gets shoved, Paula is wiped out financially, and then Elliot is charming Lucy over his credits as an actor, making some movie references over some spaghetti for dinner. And then, oh shit, shoot! By the time we get to Elliot's wonderful monologue about his last comment of, all I want is for you to be nice to me, meaning in return of spotting Paula some money, that's all he wants. Is just for her to be nice to him. But Paula takes that comment as in sleeping with him. Boom, we go into action with Elliot defending himself of not wanting anything to do with her sexually. Maybe if she smiled once in a while, okay, but I don't want you to do anything against your religion. He carries on with, I'm a dedicated actor, Paula, you know? I am dedicated to my art, to my craft. I value what I do. I tell you what I do like about you, Paula. Lucy. Lucy's your best part. Lucy's worth putting up with you for. So here's $13 for the care and feeding of that terrific kid. You get zippity doodah. You want any money? Borrow it from your 10-year-old daughter. I am now going into my room to meditate away my hostility towards you. Personally, I don't think it could be done. Walks out, slams the door. Right then and there, ladies and gentlemen, call me crazy, but that was when I said to myself, I have to study acting for real this time and become a real actor. That monologue that he did was actually my very first monologue that I ever really learned. I'm dead serious about that. I was a choir major all throughout junior high and high school, even though I was part of the drama club. Never have I took an actual acting class that was necessarily needed for a diploma at that time. And it was Dreyfuss's confidence, his fast pace, his ever so hilarious, larger-than-life persona that just influenced that spark in me once more. And I immediately enrolled in an acting class my senior year of high school, and I've been studying acting ever since, and the rest is my own history, of course. So yes, this little romantic comedy from Neil Simon, one of theater's widely loved and cherished treasures, is surely a dear treasure of mine. I hold ever so deeply in my heart and soul. Every scene is just too precious, so cute, lovely, and funny as hell. Elliot Garfield was apparently based on the likes of Dustin Hoffman, funny enough, which I can totally imagine. And apparently he tested for the role of Elliot, but was rejected. I can imagine that for sure. Richard and Marsha are just wonderful together. You totally buy their romance, how they start out hating each other, but then grow to love each other. It's preciously adorable. Speaking of which, adorable. Quinn Cummings as Lucy is just fantastic and gives one of the greatest performances from a child actor I've ever seen. She honestly rivals Vanessa Redgrave for winning the Oscar for Julia. I honestly think Quinn Cummings is like a close second for me. Marsha Mason perfectly sums it up where Quinn was a 9-year-old turning 27. Wise beyond her years, and being her first major acting opportunity, it was amazing to see how fast Quinn got the pace of being a smart actor, ready and available, listening, and going with any type of improv while filming, according to Marsha, which I love. Frankly, performance-wise, I think Marsha Mason had the toughest role of all. I remember the first time I saw this, I didn't like Paula's character, as not did many others. She seemed way too whiny, way too sappy, and just not too relatable, even to women, as I've heard testimonies from women. However, after watching this literally hundreds and hundreds of times, I sincerely love her character, for Marsha had to juggle so many dimensions and levels for Paula. She had to be demolished because her new life in LA was crushed. She's a single mom again, she has no money, no job, no real future anymore. And because she's so used to being dumped on, why is another man coming into her life, let alone a damn actor? Another goddamn actor. However, she is a sucker for romance, that she gets sucked in so fast, only to let herself fall hard when any shred of change comes in the picture. Like in the last act when Elliot gets a filming job from an uncredited Nicole Williamson as frickin' Oliver Fry. I love that moment when she comes home to find Elliot packing, and he declares, I got a movie in Hollywood, I leave for a couple months. And she goes, oh shit, and leaves the frame. It's a great shot. But it's important to see her growth in the end, where he's leaving, but she's not falling to pieces. She's so used to being so dependent on another man, but realizes she doesn't need one. However, she just wants Elliot. Now, Herbert Ross, the fantastic and legendary Herbert Ross, is such a gem. And maybe I'm biased, but his direction here is just the best, because like Mike Nichols, who was originally going to direct this as well, Bob Fosse, Gene Saks, Elaine May, Elia Kazan, and many other directors who came from theater, he loved to improv and try different takes each time. A true actor's director who trusted his actors, which is why you always feel so good watching this movie, because the actors are just having a ball. God, what a blessing it is to work on a film with such creative freedom. It's just so liberating. Sadly, Ross wasn't nominated for Best Director for this one. He was actually nominated for another feature that same year, which he also wholeheartedly deserved, for The Turning Point with Anne Bancroft and Shirley MacLaine, another film about the theater. So you can say it was a total double nod for both pictures, because he sure as hell deserved it for this one. Neil Simon's script, I mean, come on, don't get me started. It's just fantastic. If you love classic fast-paced repartee like Simon's, like The Odd Couple, Sunshine Boys, Barefoot in the Park, Brighton Beach Memoirs, Biloxi Blues, I mean, then you're gonna love this Oscar-nominated screenplay here. So many fantastic scenes I just love to death. Like the dance call audition Paula has for Ronnie, a director she used to work for, and just the second unit footage of the dance call, backstage energy, it just brings chills up my spine because I experience that all the time. And it's just so accurate. Not to mention the first day of rehearsal for Elliot for Richard III, when that gay bomb is dropped on him by the director to play Richard boldly over the top flaming, which was based on a true story apparently. Marsha said she was involved in a production of Richard III where her co-star, Michael Moriarty, had to play Richard gay, and it was quite an interesting production. And then the production that we see here in this film is truly hysterical, which is not offensive at all. It's all very exaggerated, all in delicious good fun. But then you have the truly simple and tragic scene where Elliot gets smashed, being put to bed by Paula. Now he tears up with his eyes in the dark, saying, "I could play him, you know. I could really play him." And starts the opening monologue. "Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by the son of York." It's just beautiful. Nominated for a grand total of 5 Oscars, including Best Original Screenplay, Best Supporting Actress for Quinn, Best Actress for Marsha, and Best Picture, winning, of course, for Richard Dreyfuss as Best Actor. This film surely has its flaws, like its ending, which I'm not a fan of, even to this day, because you never feel it's so complete. And you have David Gates' utterly cheesy and dated song he wrote and performed for the movie entitled, well, The Goodbye Girl. It might have been the only way to really end it. Other than that, The Goodbye Girl, from me, gets an A. Not an A+, just because of those little flaws, which are not major, obviously. And there are only certain times where we could handle Neil Simon's dialogue for so long. But never mistake, The Goodbye Girl, the original, not the 2004 made-for-television Goodbye Girl, which has its, merit, I guess, because I love Jeff Daniels. I do love Patricia Heaton, but it is not the original. It is saved and elevated to beautiful and adorable heights because of its performances from Richard Dreyfuss, Marsha Mason, and Quinn Cummings. It even did take another little life of its own, becoming a musical in 1993, starring Martin Short and Bernadette Peters in Tony-nominated performances. However, the original film itself, to me, is just timeless and really should be included a lot of the time in some of the best romantic comedies ever made, especially being one of the best romantic comedies set in New York City. But tell me now, my friends, abufo, have you seen The Goodbye Girl? What are your thoughts on it? Please list in the comments below, like and share, of course, and stay tuned for more to come indeed. And in the meantime, stay updated with all the films nominated for Oscars and keep those classics alive.